How does a 19-year-old college dropout, armed with just $1,000 and an eviction notice from his dorm room, turn that into $100 billion empire by shattering every rule in the damn playbook? Listen, forget Silicon Valley fairy tales. This is Austin, Texas grit. Michael Dell, the quiet disruptor who went toe to toe with the titans of tech, IBM, Compaq, HP. From a messy room stacked high with beige computer parts, they laughed. They called his idea selling computers direct, cutting out the fat. Bloated retail channel, impossible. Suicide even. He faced near bankruptcy scares that would make seasoned CEOs weep. Brutal price wars that turned PC market into a bloodbath. He watched his company, his baby, stumble as the world shifted under his feet, threatening to make Dell irrelevant a relic. But then, he did something unthinkable. Something that stunned every analyst, every competitor, every investor on the planet. A move so audacious. It redefined corporate strategy forever. So listen closely. Because by the end of this episode, by the end of this podcast, you won't just know his business strategy. You'll steal Dell's battle-tested strategies, the core of his doctrine, to crush commoditization in your own markets. Pivot dying portfolios before they crater and turn existential crisis into absolute dominance. Whether you're scaling a holding company, reviving a private equity assets, or deploying venture capital into the next big thing, this is your blueprint. So let's start off with the first strategy that Michael Dell used. And it's called the direct advantage. Cut the channel clutter. This is the bedrock, the origin story. Back in 1984, everyone sold computers through stores. And distributors, dealers, markups piled on markups. But young Michael Dell from his UT Austin dorm room saw inefficiency. He asked, why the middleman? And thinking about it now, it might seem very common. Like, why isn't anybody thinking about this? Well, it wasn't a very common practice back then. His radical idea: sell directly to the customer, build what they wanted, cut out the fat, lower the prices. He spoke about how the direct model was about cutting out the middleman, allowing the company to build a relationship with the customer. It sounds simple now, but like I said, back then it's not very common. He wasn't just selling computers, he was selling a new way. Customized machines, direct dialogue, better value. That's the most important part. Better value. So imagine the incumbents laughing until Dell started taking massive market share. That direct line wasn't just cheaper, it was smarter. So think about in your business, in your service, if you're in private equity, if you're an investor, what is that direct advantage? Cut the channel clutter. So that's strategy number one that Dell used. Strategy number two, order before or. Build to order velocity. So what does that mean? Well, this flows directly from the first. If you sell direct, why guess what people might want? Why build mountains of PCs that could be obsolete before they even ship? Dell flipped the script. You call, later click, configure your exact machine you pay, then Dell builds it. Then, as Michael himself described it, competitors were guessing months in advance. We knew exactly what they wanted because they just told us and paid us. This wasn't just manufacturing. It was manufacturing at the speed of demand. And the beautiful thing about that is that minimal inventory risk, maximum customization. It was lean before lean was a buzzword. So think about how you can make the operations lean. He's very smart with, the constraints are the mother of invention. So this was a constraint. Starting out in his business journey, Michael only had $1,000 while he was competing with big corporations, and this was an opportunity for him to be creative. And this strategy changed the way he operated business. It changed the way he was able to take market share because of the build to order velocity. Strategy number 3. Velocity is value, the cash conversion obsession. Now, this is where it gets really clever, almost like financial alchemy. Combine direct sales, okay, get paid up front, with build to order, build after payment, and tight supplier management, pay suppliers later. So this is all about financial engineering. What happens? Well, Michael often received customer cash before needing to pay for the components. This is the holy grail, a negative cash conversion cycle. I'm going to say it again, a negative cash conversion cycle. Dell wasn't just efficient. The business generated cash simply by operating. As Dell emphasized, the goal was to speed the velocity of inventory and information. This wasn't just an accounting trick, it was a strategic weapon, fueling growth without massive external debt. Providing incredible resilience during downturns when competitors choke on unsold inventory and slow payments. Cash is the blood of your business. And this was a highly, highly strategic, excellent move. They measured inventory in days, sometimes hours. Speed wasn't just good, speed was cash. Strategy number 4, customer as co-creator, direct feedback integration. So what does that mean? That directly line wasn't just for sales. It was a fire hose of market intelligence. Dell didn't rely on layers of bureaucracy to filter what customer wanted. Sales calls, tech support interactions, early online forums. This data flowed directly back to the engineering and product teams. That data is very valuable because you're going to understand the customer's wants and needs. And Michael Dell himself made it a point to read customer emails and forums posts religiously. So how in your business, in your venture, how are you able to understand the customer emails? How you understand what's going on in the customer's mind, the brain? Is it the forum? Is it surveying them? Is it talking to them? So he heard frustrations. Michael heard frustrations, spotted trends, understood needs immediately. The most important part is listen to your customers. Was baked into the system. This allowed Dell to pivot fast, refine products rapidly, and stay accurately tuned to the market in a way insulated competitors couldn't match. The customer wasn't just a buyer, they were an active participant in Dell's R&D. Strategy number 4. Let's see. No, actually we're on number 5 right now. Strategy number 5. Strategic seclusion. Go private to go big. All right, so fast forward to 2013. Dell Inc. is huge, humongous, billions of dollars. But the PC market is changing. Dell needs a radical transformation, deeper into enterprise, cloud, software, a multi-year, potentially messy overhaul. Doing that under the quarterly glare of Wall Street is tough. Michael's audacious solution: take the company private in a colossal multi-billion-dollar leverage buyout. Why? He stated plainly, well, we needed the freedom to invest for the long term. Without the distractions of the public market is very short vision, short-term mind, short-term view. But this allowed Michael Dell to be able to focus on the long term. It was a brutal fight. But going private allowed Michael to make deep strategic investments and acquisitions without worrying about the next earnings call. It was about sacrificing short term visibility for long term transformation, a high stakes gamble that fundamentally reshaped the company's future. Jeff Bezos always talked about long term thinking. If you want to be successful in business, focus on long term thinking. And this is what Dell did. He focused on long term thinking by going private. He doesn't need to talk to or worry about the analysts or the earnings call because those people always focus on the short term. So, what product, service, team, culture, fit, strategic acquisition do you need to do or make so that you can focus on the long term vision? Strategy number 6, virtual integration, deep supplier synthesis. Michael never aimed to make everything. Instead, it perfected the art of partnership, creating what Dell called a seamless value chain. This wasn't just ordering parts, it was deep, virtual integration. Dell shared real-time demand data and forecasts directly with key suppliers. Suppliers could then plan their production precisely, often holding inventory near Dell's assembly lines, ready to be pulled just in time. It required immense trust and sophisticated IT links, essentially making suppliers extension of Dell's own factory floor without formal ownership. This minimized Dell's risk slash cost and ensured components were there when needed. It was orchestration on a massive scale. You gotta be like you're a CEO. You have to be the orchestra of the. If you're a CEO, you have the orchestra of the finance, team members, marketing, sales, and you are the conductor. Yes, sir. Number 7, strategy number 7. If you're getting value, hit the like. If you're getting value, subscribe. If you're getting value, share. That's all I ask. Strategy number 7, measure everything that matters. Radical data-driven management. Michael was obsessed with data from day one. Not just financials, but everything. Component costs tracked daily. Inventory turns hourly. Website clicks minute by minute. Customer satisfaction scores. Manufacturing yields. If it mattered, it was measured, tracked, and displayed. Dell famously operated by the principle, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Internal meetings revolved around data dashboards. Decisions were based on a gut feel alone. They were driven by real-time performance against specific measurable goals. This created a culture of accountability and allowed for incredibly rapid identification and correction of problems. It was like having a data-fueled sixth sense for the entire business. What gets measured gets improved. So you see, Michael was obsessed about his business. If you look at great founders, great CEOs, they were obsessed about their business. Steve Jobs. All right, Steve Jobs, excuse me, I just burped. Michael Dell, Dyson. These CEOs are thinking about their business. It's the only thing that's on their mind. Every detail. Now there are people who are the opposite side of the spectrum. But figure out what works for you, and that's the most important thing. Find out your nature, figure out what works for you, and then start building your business around your nature. Strategy number 8, acquire for acceleration, transformative M&A. When Michael needed new capabilities fast, he wasn't afraid to buy them. And not just small tuck-ins. The monster acquisition of EMC, including VMware, in 2016 is the prime example. Why? To instantly transform Dell from a PC-heavy company into a dominant force in enterprise IT. Storage, servers, virtualization, cloud infrastructure. Building that organically, that's too slow, too risky. Dell stated that merger created an enterprise solutions powerhouse. M&A wasn't just about getting bigger, it was a strategic accelerator, a way to buy time, critical market positions to execute a massive pivot. Buying revenue is easier than building a business. And in this particular strategy, Michael found a business that's going to complement a bolt-on business. And for your business, if you own a holdco, if you own private equity, venture capital, what other acquisitions, vertical acquisitions, horizontal acquisitions, what acquisitions can you make? You don't need to make. Can you make to improve your core business, your service, your value, your customers' lives, and that, or maybe dominate another market? So this was fastest way to grow. I always tell people fastest way to grow is buy a business instead of creating it. All right. Strategy number 9, liquidity lifeline. Cash as a strategic weapon. Underpinning many of these bold moves was a relentless focus on financial health, specifically liquidity. Dell always prioritized a strong balance sheet and an ample cash reserves. This wasn't just defense, it was offense. Having cash provided what Dell called strategic flexibility. It allowed Dell to navigate crises like the dot-com bust and 2008 meltdown better than debt-laden rivals. Crucially, it provided the firepower for the massive LBO and the EMC acquisition. Cash wasn't just working capital. It was the dry powder needed to seize opportunities, weather storms, and fund changing transformations when others couldn't. Warren Buffett sitting on 300 plus billion of cash ready to deploy. And people that have a huge cash reserve, people that have capital, are able to move quickly, are able to take opportunities very, very fast. If there's something that comes along their way, they're able to make the acquisition, they're able to make the decision, they're able to move with speed because they have no capital restraints. All right, strategy number 10, founders fire, relentless reinvention. Perhaps the most defining yet hardest to replicate strategy is Michael Dell's own mindset. And on the next episode, on the next podcast, I will be talking about Michael Dell's decision-making framework. It's basically his operating system, his mental models. How would he approach hiring? How would he approach leadership? And you'll be able to understand his mindset, okay? Michael Dell never rested. From dorm room disruptor to global CEO through privatization and massive acquisition, he embodied relentless reinvention. He didn't just build a company. He constantly rebuilt it to meet the next challenge. What you got here won't get you there is a core Dell philosophy. The founder's fire, the paranoia, the dissatisfaction with the status quo, the willingness to make a terrifyingly bold bets on the future, even if it meant disrupting his own existing business. This is the engine that drove decades of adaptation and growth. And there you go. That is 10 amazing business strategies and lessons from Michael Dell. And if you found value, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share. Next part, if you click somewhere on the screen, I'm going to be sharing with you. It's going to be a video of Michael Dell's mental model, his decision-making framework, and his operating system. You found value in this, I guarantee that you will find value in that also. With that being said, go out there, build your empire, and see you next time. Peace.